The ACC Tournament Championship is on the line in Cary, North Carolina, and we're so glad that you chose to spend your Sunday afternoon with us, and here we go. Both of these teams have had some of the most successful seasons in the entire country. North Carolina comes in 16-4 overall. They went 7-3 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Florida State 14-2-2. They suffered 2 defeats in a row in the middle of the ACC season. That was the first time that had happened since all the way back in 2019. Here's Bella Gattino in that 3-back, playing the right-back position, with Avon Alvarez moving up just a little bit further up the pitch into more of what should be a defensive midfield spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting because we'll see how quickly Florida State, I mean, they had to deal with this versus Wake Forest in the semifinal on Thursday, the adjustment of their formation. Typically, Wake Forest is a team that plays with a 4-back. Well, they went to a 3-back to match up with Florida State. We're seeing a bit of a variation for North Carolina in this game as well, but I feel like for North Carolina, the difference is they feel like they can get players in more advanced positions. They can take a few more risks because of Armstrong back in to the starting lineup. So it will be a bit of a hybrid formation, a 3-back, if you will. Alvarez on this near side will be a bit more conservative, and give Darlene on that left side the ability to attack and push up next to Thomas and Fossey.
There was Armstrong, number 3 in blue for UNC, coming off of a trip to the U17 World Cup. Here's the first opportunity, though, for North Carolina. Darlene just wide, and there's Addie Todd up to their first challenge after making 2 massive saves in the PK shootout to take down Wake Forest.
Yeah, huge save for Todd. She comes off her line, cuts down the angle, narrows it so well for herself. But look at this play from Darlene. Reads it, picks off Simmons, and then she's off to the races at the last second. Simmons goes to the ground, maybe throws Darlene off just a little bit as she's trying to hesitate to get her feet under control, but that's a save from Todd. That's massive at this point in time in the opening minutes of this game.
Aria Nagai will take the first corner of the match. Elgin denied by Cameron Simmons, the Tennessee transfer, the Jamaican international. That was what we saw in the 81st minute. Nagai to Armstrong off a corner. That was the difference in that match against rival Duke.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting is that Nagai's taking the corner kicks in this game so far, and she had 2 goals off the far post on corner kicks the last time these 2 teams met a couple weeks ago. She was on the far post. So regardless if she's taken, that's going to be an interesting aspect. How does Florida State deal with that defensively is going to be called a foul in favor of Dudley.
Jordan Dudley, the sophomore from Milton, Georgia, missed the first 6 games with the U.S. at the Under-20 World Cup. There were 4 players on the Florida State roster that did, so it has been a late gelling team in a lot of ways here for Brian Penske, but getting it together when they need to the most. Taylor Huff to the byline, sends it back into the middle, into the stomach of Tessa De La Rose, and so clear.
Well, good positioning from Tessa De La Rose. Knows that she's going to have to play on both sides of the ball, and the leaders in the midfield for North Carolina is making sure that she helps join into the attack, but also great position to clean up that cutback ball from Taylor Huff, because one of the things that we do know about Huff is she wants to peel out to this left-hand side, so they're going to have to track those runners, especially with this hybrid formation. There should be room for Huff to be able to get into that space.
So both teams playing a 3-5-2, but it's more of a traditional 3-5-2 for Florida State, because they're going to have a couple of wingbacks in Ron Ely and Sophia Wynn that will get out wide and get forward and back. But again, Alvarez in the right back spot more as defensive abilities and assignments, you would say, you know, more so than what Brian Penske told us he wants to see more of, is that he wants to see his wingbacks make more impact than they did on Thursday.
Well, that's where their width comes from, and we're going to see Armstrong again. We saw this a few different times versus Duke, and she's able to penetrate in those central areas that allows for them to get players higher up in the attack. Really good start from North Carolina so far, and this is what they're going to be looking for, is Thomas, Fossey in those central areas, having a bit more of an impact to really push those three center backs back for Florida State. But to your point, that's where the width comes from for this Florida State team, is from those wing backs. So they got to get wide, but they're also going to have to track back with the pace that North Carolina has in the attack.
Wrianna is looking for something spectacular to win her 5th straight ACC tournament. Can you imagine having that much success in your college career?
It's a standard. It's a standard of Florida State. Saw it under Mark Krikorian, Brian Pinsky, understanding the role of, this is a player-led team, as we heard Marion talk about coming into this game. And I think that's what's been remarkable about both of these programs, is regardless, again, of the personnel, the recruitment, what that looks like, they understand what the standard is and kept it so high for so many years.
Huff off the header. Simmons got to it, and now here's Huff once again. Was looking for Jimenez, but a whistle. And that is going to keep it with Florida State. Let's send it back down to Marion on exactly what the message was from Damon Nahas today.
Alex, it's interesting because, you know, the dominance of UNC, no doubt about it, but there are several players, in fact, most of them on this UNC Tar Heel side, that haven't been on this stage in their college career. And so the message from Damon Nahas to the team was a little bit different than the Florida State message. It was about, hey, we have put together a collective of big-time moments in this season. Yeah, we haven't experienced this exact stage yet, but we've experienced moments of pressure where we've consistently responded. And that's what I want you to hang on to as you welcome this stage for some of the first times in your college career.
And for Florida State, and I'll get back to what Marion was just saying in a second, but Florida State, this is a team that you just feels like they have just started to get their rhythm because of injuries, because of players coming in and out for different World Cups, U17, U20, but very much the same for North Carolina as well. Announcement of Anson Dorrance's retirement. They've had a few players that have left as well. So both of these teams very much having to deal with adversity throughout the season, overcoming that, find themselves in this championship.
Just in front of Soleil Washington, but the flag raised, she would have been offside anyway. Washington knows what it's like to have success against North Carolina. She had a brace in their win earlier this year.
Well, her towing the line just finds herself just a bit offside, but love that, always testing, looking to see if she can push that back line of North Carolina back, and what that's going to do is open up space for Huff, Jimenez underneath, to be able to pick up some of the loose balls and start running at the back three of North Carolina.
It's going to be interesting tactically as well for Brian Penske after Nagai and Huff got tangled up, and there's going to be a talking to here from Ashley Cedro, because Wake Forest switched their formation to a 3-5-2, and that kind of took Florida State off guard a little bit on Thursday night. Well, I'm not sure they were 100% looking for a three-back as well here from North Carolina after they, you know, had just played a 4-3-3 on Thursday.
Well, that's why I was making the comment about how quickly can this Florida State team adjust and recognize what formation North Carolina is in. But regardless, now they're familiar with it. They understand where they can find some of the space after seeing against Wake Forest on Thursday. So it's just about being composed in these moments. It'll be a tough challenge on Alvarez here on this near side when EY, brings her down. But good battle so far in this game. It's really just about who can stay composed in these moments. We talked about Alvarez being in that position where she can get a little bit higher at times, but she'll also offer a bit more support connected to the back line. You can just see it actually doesn't make contact. It's just she's trying to screen the ball, rolls her ankle a bit. Good to see her back up.
Haven Alvarez won bronze with the U.S. Under-19 national team in the 2023 Pan Am Games. One of those two in the three-back that are freshmen, along with Armstrong, who is over the ball looking to serve it in. Kate Fossey went down, but play on, says our center official Ashley Cedro. Fossey is really the heartbeat of this team's attack, though, this season, and All-ACC first teamer, a team high and career high 14 goals this year. 14 goals, 20 matches. That's a pretty good clip right there for an attacker, or for anyone.
Right, and it goes back to, I feel like with Damon Nahas, this isn't about adjusting to what Florida State's doing. It's more about how can they get the best out of their players. And Fossey has started on that right wing position on Thursday evening. Really quiet, limited the impact that she had. She is more of a true center forward, so playing her next to Olivia Thomas, again, having both of them closer together, but also occupying Gilchrist and those other two center backs for Florida State, could prove fortuitous for them.
Free kick for EY and the Seminoles. Short to Soleil Washington. Missed about a month with a foot injury earlier. 4 of her 5 goals have come in the last 5 matches, so she is certainly finding her form after returning from that knock. Looking for Washington after Gattino went to ground. Good little battle right there. And finally the whistle going the way of North Carolina, with Emerson Elgin coming out of her left back spot.
Well, we've seen this with Armstrong, and now Elgin just penetrating on the dribble into the midfield. And it's difficult to defend because a lot of teams are set up looking to cut out passes because that's how teams are building up. But North Carolina doing a good job of recognizing the space. They can go themselves, draw the foul, gives them a little bit more of an advantage in terms of yards that they've gained.
A little more than 10 minutes gone. Best opportunity so far has been for the Tar Heels. That ball was searching for Washington, but it'll end up with Claire Gagne. Grad student, transferred from Brown, one of 2 Ivy League transfers that Anson Dorrance and now Damon Nahas have on the pitch. Ariana Guy coming over from Princeton, and Gagne, after a terrific career with Brown, has got a chance to shine, and maybe we'll see it throughout the match, but they know we're in Chapel Hill as Air Claire. Made some spectacular saves throughout the year. And Addie Todd, who backed up Christina Roque last year. One of the biggest question marks for this FSU team is what would they have in goal? Everyone knew what Roque was capable of, and Todd has proved it time in and time out. Team only conceding 15 times this season. Brian Penske told us it wasn't promised to her by any means, but she worked her tail off in practice, won the job in camp, and really has a willingness to lead and organize back there, which, I mean, you know, Lori, that's kind of half the battle when you talk about setting up your defense.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about how potent they've been as a team in terms of goal scoring, but only 14 goals against as a defense. I mean, it's remarkable, and this is a team that wants to hunt, they want to lead from and defend from the front. So a lot of teams under pressure, but you have to be organized and wait for those transitional moments. And I think that's going to be an interesting aspect for both of these teams is we want to keep some possession. There's going to be some moments we're going to try to be direct, so you have to be aware of that. Brave off your line if you're Todd, but also drop as a unit defensively as a back line.
And Marion Crowder has a very special guest down on the pitch, doesn't she? The ACC Commissioner, Dr. Jim Phillips.
That's right, a very special guest indeed. And we've actually been joking, guys, down here on the sideline about how it's harder to win an ACC championship sometimes than a national championship trophy. And that just speaks to the pedigree that is in this conference. Jim, what's it been like to see the consistent dominance of ACC soccer just across the country? It's
been amazing, Marion. When you talk about 7 of the top 14 programs in the country, 6 in the top 10, in strength, schedule, and the rest of it, it's a reflection of the commitment to broad-based programming and the game of women's soccer. I'm really proud of how it's been elevated. We've added some really good schools as well. And it is, I think, sometimes harder to win an ACC championship than it is an NCAA championship.
Absolutely. We were talking about the youth impact. Obviously, we've got some youth clubs playing right now, and just the dream it is that to be on this ACC stage, the dream that it's setting up for younger players. What is that like as a dad of an athlete, just to see that there are people out there that you can say, hey, this is my role model?
Absolutely. I'm living proof of it in my own family with my daughter Meredith, who plays soccer at Yale. She watched you and others play, and that has facilitated the love of the game for young women. And there's more opportunities now because we have paid attention and we have supported it financially, emotionally, with facilities. We have to continue to go forward, even in this new generation of college athletics. As we look towards the future, we have to be committed to women's sports and obviously today, women's soccer.
Extremely well said. Thank you for the time. It is always great to see you here.
Great to see you. Thanks.
All right, thank you both. There is no question that the ACC is the dominant conference in women's soccer this year. I mean, you look at the top 50 in RPI, 10 teams from the ACC sitting there, the lowest Cal at number 46. But 1, 2, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Then expanded out to 12 in Notre Dame in terms of the RPI, all coming from the ACC. They very easily could get 10 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you don't. And as we just heard, the commissioner is almost more difficult to win an ACC championship than it could be to win a college cup. So just fine margins, competitive conference, and we're seeing it on display here today so far.
How has it changed, Lori, since you were playing for Virginia that you've seen?
Well, I think the entire landscape has changed considerably in recent years as well. But one, the competitive nature. I mean, North Carolina, as we talked about coming into the show, was just pure domination. And they were always the team that you're looking to beat, to upset, because of them just their consistent wins. But at the same time, now you're seeing that spread out more across the board, even though North Carolina and Florida State, these two teams have had recent success as well within the conference. But also just the quality of play, the quality of player, the different styles of play. I mean, historically, I feel like the ACC has been all about a bit more possession-based, tactics come in, and yes, that's still very true. But you see some different shifts. You see a bit more direct play. You see players looking to attack quickly, even more so than used to. So exciting level of play.
And exciting players here. Dudley bumped it off of Trinity Armstrong, and now she's going to go down. Take an extra second after that. Hot shot from Dudley, hit her right in the hip.
There's a shot from Dudley, just ricochets off of Armstrong.
Florida State has to be loving that type of matchup too, when you can get Dudley going down the middle and then Washington to hold up play. I mean, remember, that's how that goal against Wake Forest came. North Carolina has to be really careful when Florida State has back to goal. And now here's Olivia Thomas. Gets around Heather Gilchrist. Olivia Thomas back to the middle, and Gilchrist finally catches up.
Well, really well defended, but I love that ball from Olmark. Just instead of trying to play directly in behind, plays it right into the path of Thomas, but really well worked defensively, because you get Gilchrist doing whatever she can right here. She steps in, she knows she's beat by that touch, but Simmons comes back, helps out, slows the play, and then Gilchrist there to pick it up and make sure it stays out of danger. But love it from Olmark, just to play it into the path and allow Thomas to get onto it, because a lot of the balls that we've seen recently in the game against Duke, just directly over the top, forces Thomas to have to get into a foot race consistently. There she's able to get a touch, see if she can draw defenders in and then go, but defended well, what you need from Florida State.
Well, you are seeing what Olivia Thomas, that impact she makes when she is fully fit. Started 7 matches last year before hurting her ankle in mid-September. That derailed her freshman season, and then had another injury this year, but has started the last 4 matches for UNC. And kind of changes the offense a lot. A real physical presence there at that center forward spot. And now Ron Ewai is holding her knee. Ewai, the 3-year starter. This is her 100th match. Ewai, one of the few left on this team from the 2021 national runner-up. Played for Japan at the U17 World Cup. A bright future for this young international player who has been one of the unsung heroes for Florida State. I mean, you talk about the transition when Brian Penske takes the job after Mark Krikorian steps away. Ron Ely has been the constant, right? And she brought that same real type of professionalism from the old guard to the new, and has been as big a part, you know, of the defending national champions as anybody.
Well, and those players are so important because you can see the quality of play from her in general, but then also to continue to pass along and you know, as a vocal leader, as just a lead by example type player, you need that when you bring new players into a club or a team. You need those players that can help pass on that message of what that standard is, and that's why these two teams have been successful. You've had that with North Carolina. EY would certainly be that player for Florida State.
Well, this is a clash of titans here in every single way, as Ron is going to get helped off the pitch. And we can get more of an update from Marion down there on the sideline, but not putting a whole lot of weight on her right foot. And she'll head down into the tunnel. Tough to see so early on in this match, too, and that changes what Florida State wants to do. But you talk about those 10 ACC championships, and coming since 2014, as Ashley Puerta is going to check in. I mean, North Carolina has been the standard for so long. I mean, there is no question. Just in the 90s and early 2000s, dominating NCAA soccer. And what Mark Krikorian was able to build really has, in a lot of ways, supplanted UNC. Like, the standards are there, but you can't argue with the success of a potential 5th ACC tournament title in a row. I mean, that just really doesn't happen. The last time it happened was the Tar Heels from 2005 to 2009. Now, how does bringing Puerta in and EY being out of the game, how does that affect Florida State tactically?
Well, one, fresh legs, and this is something that Brian Penske's talked about all season long, is how important those, well, since they shifted to this 3-5-2, is how important those wing backs are to be able to have fresh legs, play on both sides of the ball. Puerta a bit more attacking minded typically than EY on this near side. EY can play as a holding mid, she can also play as an outside back, but Puerta is certainly gonna want to get more into the attack more often. Just looking at both of these teams, I like the way that North Carolina has started. They've been able to get more pressure on the ball higher up and force some of these direct balls, and then look to see if they can easily clean up. As we just saw there, a big ball from Simmons, easily dealt with from Gagne. But it all starts with the starting position. It doesn't matter really about the formation, it's just how you can apply pressure, where you can create the overloads, and it's been a really good start for North Carolina. And going back to the wing backs for Florida State, that's where they need to get more involved, because they can switch to play quicker, find the space out wide, then I think they can attack North Carolina that way. A lot of the balls have just been direct in behind.
Marion has an update on EY.
What I saw down here, they were doing a pretty extensive knee test, pushing the knee in multiple directions, really testing for structural issues. She was helped off by the training staff, but I watched her go into the training locker room the entire way. By the time they got to the door, she actually was able to put some sort of weight-bearing pressure on it. They actually stopped trying to help her walk, and she was able to end up finishing the walk to the locker room on her own will, which is a great sign for a player, guys, who could potentially today, if Florida State win, goes 5 for 5 in her collegiate career in terms of ACC championship wins.
There's no question. Thank you for that update, Marion. North Carolina has a corner, though, in the meantime. Trying to get on the board first as they go low. That's right into Carissa Beckman, who has really been one of the unsung heroes. Number 14 in white for Florida State, transferring in from Texas A&M, where G. Guerreri really had her more of a 10 role, more of a central attacking midfielder. Over the top, and that one's easy for Addie Todd. Today's women's college basketball lineup: 3 Eastern, Gonzaga and Stanford squaring off at Maples Pavilion on ESPN2, and on ESPN, number 9, NC State and top-ranked South Carolina. First game of the Allied tip-off in Charlotte, second Virginia Tech and Iowa on ESPN2. All 3 games are available on the ESPN app. And I'm very interested to see the new look Iowa. Of course, no Caitlin Clark. Lisa Bluter, the head coach, retires. So can the Hawkeyes continue, to press?
Are they going to?
And push?
What's your prediction?
Oh, I think it's really hard to replace Caitlin Clark. Let's put it that way. And Lisa Bluter is an absolute legend. It's not going to be easy. New Virginia Tech as well. Head coach, Kenny Brooks going over to Kentucky. So a very different look women's college basketball season in a lot of ways. And I saw Dawn Staley thinks that her team this year is better than last season. And of course they won the national championship. I'm not sure they're ever going to stop winning. Kind of like Florida State, honestly, in a lot of ways in women's soccer.
Well, this is much better for Florida State because they start out wide. It's win on that far side. They look to try to create the 2v1. I think those are the moments where if they do create an overload, then whip the ball in behind. Right now it's a bit impatient. They're either going immediately direct in behind.
Washington has space. That was brave from the guy. And now Dudley is whistled for the foul. Put her body into Fossey. So free kick for UNC. Better build up in a lot of ways, though, for Florida State.
Yeah, and that's what they need because it's either just those direct balls in behind that are easily dealt with right now for North Carolina defensively, or they're trying to keep the ball too much and it's allowing for North Carolina to get back, get into their shape, and then win the ball. So they have to find that happy medium in terms of if they do win, then can they go? But make it a little bit less predictable than just one big direct ball over the top.
Very different conditions than we saw on Thursday night, too, when these two teams played. It was muggy. It was definitely warm for early November here in North Carolina. This is a lot more like it, with the temperature in the 60s, a little bit overcast. Lights are on here at Wake Med Soccer Park, which really is the perfect venue for this championship, and then the College Cup in December.
When you just look at the amount of numbers on this near side, that's where both teams, can you switch to play? Yes, it's going to be difficult because you have to connect one pass and then understand that you've got to go out the other side. But right now, it's just back and forth. Both teams are trying to win headers, giving up possession. You can play out the other side, then you'll have more time to be able to go quickly into the attack.
Gagne, the Minnesota native. Elgin. North Carolina maybe a little less direct than we've seen from Florida State. That's a great ball, though. Look at all this space here for Alvarez. Out to the near side. Fossey, 1v1 with Puerta. Walled off by Van Zanten. Just as far as De La Rose. She tees it up just wide.
I'll just look at the positioning of Alvarez because it all starts with Darlene understanding that space is to come out this other side, but it's the positioning right there of Alvarez. This is where you're going to hurt Florida State if you're North Carolina because then you can go out wide, but it's in between the lines. No one picks her up. Just a little bit of a heavy touch in the end from Fossey. Gets away from her. What a strike this is. Lands to De La Rose. She tees it up, pulls it wide in the end. We'll be disappointed that she doesn't hit the target with so much time and space, but best buildup that we've seen for North Carolina.
But that's why we saw the 3-5-2 difference for the new interim head coach for North Carolina, Damon Nahas. I mean, it gets Alvarez into that pocket, doesn't it?
Because the starting position's a bit higher. If she's out wide and potentially a little bit higher, it does make it a bit more difficult for Darlene, but in that space, it also makes it more difficult for Florida State to decide who's gonna step, who's gonna track, see the amount of time that she has, and then once they do step, if they're a little bit late, Florida State, they can play in those wide areas.
Free kick here for the Seminoles. Just over 19 minutes remaining in half number one. Nothing separating UNC and Florida State here in this clash of titans. Seminoles going for their 5th straight ACC tournament crown, and North Carolina is trying for their 23rd overall, first since 2019. Washington stepped in front of Nagai. It's still in. And now it's out. Florida State's going to keep it. First wave of subs coming in now here for Florida State. Taylor Suarez, Peyton McGovern, and Wrianna Hudson all checking in. They bring so much quality off the bench. Wrianna Hudson, just in general, only a freshman, but standing in there at 6'2". And they will certainly look for her to go direct. Was her off the header, number 42. Took down Gattino. They say play on as it falls to Hudson. Puerta. McGovern. Dispossessed by Fossey. And Thomas is going to earn the whistle. Peyton McGovern, also a freshman. Very good in the air, number 15 for Florida State. But she was the one who was victimized by the goal by Wake Forest in the 82nd minute. That was the equalizer, and then the Seminoles were the aggressor in the second overtime and first overtime periods. They didn't allow a single shot by Wake Forest, and then were able to get by them in PKs 3-1. That falls nicely to Thomas. Fossey looking for help, finds it in Alvarez. And Thomas tripped up. Just a rare mistake from Gilchrist, and now this is a dangerous position here for North Carolina to cross it in.
Well, Thomas already more involved in this game in terms of being able to play back to goal, get the ball to her feet, or look to get in behind, and that's what playing next to Fossey, then those two players being a little bit closer together helps North Carolina. Thomas does well, hold up the ball, draws the foul.
This is De La Rose to the back post! Armstrong just wide, what a ball!
Well, it's off your screen, but Damon Nejas can't believe his luck on that one because it's a beautiful ball into the back post from De La Rose. Just look at it, and this has been a little bit of an issue for Florida State. Marking on these set pieces. I referred back to the last time that these two teams met. Nagai getting two open headers on the far post of corner kicks. The two goals for North Carolina in that game, even despite the loss. This time, Armstrong doesn't miss by much. Maybe the better option would have been to at least try to play that back across the 6-yard box to give runners a chance on it from that tight angle. But threatening nonetheless.
Linda Olmark, number 7 for UNC. She scored the first goal against Duke as they battled back, equalized, and then won it against the Blue Devils in the 81st minute on the header goal by Trinity Armstrong. And we almost saw kind of a carbon copy just a moment ago. Nagai. Looking ahead for Darlene in a foot race with Suarez. Darlene, help arriving in the box in time. She goes down, and the referee points to the spot. Penalty, North Carolina.
Well, every single time that Darlene's gotten the ball, she's looked lively, she's made something happen, she's won the foot race. This time, does it once again. Able to just stop right here, draw the foul on Simmons. It's been a really good battle between those two on that far side. Excellent work from Darlene because she's asked a lot today in terms of occupying that entire left-hand side. Does all the work. You see what it means to her with that reaction.
Fosse has taken one penalty this season, and she scored on it. Can Addie Todd be the hero once again for the Seminoles? No! Got a finger on it, but in a quest for an ACC title, the Tar Heels strike first.
And it all starts with Darlene on that far side, and that's something, if I'm Damon Nahas, I'm telling this team, switch the play, get Darlene in behind as much as possible, because she's owned that left-hand side, wins the foot race, sees that she doesn't have any help, has cut down the angle, pulls it back, draws the foul, then Fosse steps up, and even though Todd gets a touch on it, it's really well placed. She gets enough power. You see, almost overcommits Todd as she's diving, tries to get the left hand, a little touch, but there's enough on it from Fosse to put this team up 1-0 in the championship.
An unfamiliar position for Florida State, trailing in a cup match. Kate Fosse with her team high and career high 15th goal of the year. Florida State has not won this season, conceding first. A loss and 2 draws.
Well, the reaction is going to be really interesting from Florida State, because this is a team that does want to be aggressive, but do they use that to their advantage, or do they use it against themselves? The guy's looking for a foul, but it pops out to Della Rose, able to keep possession. Good no call to allow for the play to develop.
And now, how does this open up the match? Florida State, just 2 shots, none of them on goal to Tess Gagne at all. 6 shots, 3 of them on goal for North Carolina.
One that started in the midfield.
And Thomas is going to get called for the offside. And you saw that the Tar Heels have not lost when they score the first goal. This would be a remarkable run for the Tar Heels.
Well, it's very different to have to defend just 1 forward when you're playing with a 3 front, so 1 central forward compared to 2. And that's where Thomas, Fosse have done a really good job, because they've stayed connected. They have to be mindful of both of those players, but Thomas always looking to stretch.
There's Suarez.
But right here is where North Carolina's won this battle so far, because how many times have we called Huff's name? How many times have we called Dudley? They've stayed connected. The 2 holding mids and the guy, Della Rose, connected to the back 3. Hasn't allowed a lot of balls into Dudley, and then Huff's been limited as well, just with the positioning of those 5 for North Carolina. The 2 main threats for Florida State.
And we certainly have not seen that type of impact from Dudley and Huff so far. Not really that suffocating high-pressure defense that we had seen many times in many pockets throughout that Wake Forest match on Thursday night. So Dudley, with her 6 goals and 8 assists in her sophomore year, is going to give way to fellow U20 World Cup participant Gianna Riley. Corner now for Florida State, though, as they take their first of the match. Also, Bella Sember is going to come in for Thomas. 76th match for Sember, the senior from Long Island. Come off the bench the last 2 matches for Damon Nahas. Puerta goes low. Into Della Rose. Suarez! We're level! The Noles strike back.
What a fantastic response. Immediately after conceding the goal, penalty kick from Fosse, they go down, they're attacking, they get numbers. I like that corner kick because it's low. It's difficult for Della Rose to be able to really clear the lines. They're slow to get the pressure out to Suarez. And at this point in time, when you've conceded, you just have to take your chances. Does well to set herself up. There's the little bait of the defender, and then keeps it low to that far post. The sneak and pass, Gagne for the tying goal. Excellent response. Suarez, the wing back substitute that comes on. Right there's the move. And then you see Gagne screen at the last second. Amount of numbers in front of her. Gets down, but can't get anything on it.
A battle of two absolute juggernauts. Quality all over the pitch. Suarez, one of the 4 Florida State players that participated in the U20 World Cup, missed the first 7 games. But clearly, I mean, when Florida State's full strength, when North Carolina's full strength, there's no question. They're ACC tournament champion possibilities, and also they're going to go for a national championship.
Well, there's also versatility. There's adaptability for both of these teams. We've talked about the shift in different formations, what that looks like throughout the season, when they needed to create a change, if they weren't getting the results they wanted, the performances they wanted. And we're seeing that play out today. We've seen a few different tactical shifts. Both of these teams are competitors. They want to win, back and forth already, and shifts in momentum. Exciting match.
Jenna Riley goes down. This afternoon, 3 Eastern on ABC, ESPN Deportes and ESPN Plus, the final NWSL quarterfinal matchup. Rose Lavelle in Gotham hosting Sophia Smith and the Portland Thorns in New Jersey. The semifinals are on Saturday. How about the Thorns coming in winning only 2 of their last 10? Talk about juggernauts, and I think that Gotham would certainly apply with Rose and, of course, Lynn Williams. That's a team that has eyes on another championship, doesn't it?
Yeah, with the amount of international team players that they brought into that team. Started a bit slow in the season in terms of goal scoring, but really consistent throughout in terms of limiting the opposition chances, and now finding the back of the net consistently. Should be a wonderful matchup. Sophia Smith back from injury, coming into form.
Who has the upper hand right now in those playoffs?
Well, Orlando was the Shield winners, went undefeated until the last couple of games. 2 out of the last 3 games they lost of the season, but beat Chicago on Friday night in convincing fashion. And I think, you know, with the way that they played throughout this season, defensively in the attack, Barbara Banda getting 2 of those goals on Friday night, they are the team to beat, despite Kansas City getting the victory over North Carolina yesterday. So fine margins as we see in the ACC,
yes.
Same with the NWSL.
Well, we know that the Seminoles and Tar Heels alike, terrific at turning out talent for the next level. But Jenna Niswanger playing for Gotham, having a real role. The former Florida State Seminole, national champion as well. He's got some caps with the U.S. national team, too. Real bright future,
Gold
certainly
medalist,
for
went to the
Niswanger.
Olympics.
Absolutely. Nothing separating these 2 teams as Florida State snatches back a goal against the run of play after North Carolina started it off with a penalty in the 31st minute. Drawn by Darlene, ended by Fossey. Nice turn, Alvarez. Fossey trying to stay on to her right, and she'll go down, and this should be a yellow card on Huerta.
And this is one of the areas, and we referred to it earlier in this half with that Armstrong, Elgin a few different times.
A yellow card has been assessed to Florida State's number 30, Ashlyn Huerta,
But
in the 39th
taking
minute.
a space on the dribble, this is the last thing you want to do. Playing in a championship game, you just played on Thursday, it's tracking these players on the run. Look at the work Huerta's having to do, and just at the last second, it's a bit lazy in her defending. No need to bring down, you got help behind. Sets up for another dangerous opportunity of a set pieces for North Carolina.
Here's the guy. Was looking for Armstrong once again, went down to her foot, now it's Huff. And Huerta sends it further. Catino. Well, neither of these teams had the benefit of a bye, and actually we got 2 upsets. That's how deep this ACC tournament is. I mean, you get the 3 and 4 seeds advancing past the 1 and 2 seeds, but both of these teams now playing their 3rd match in a week. And so many of those Florida State players as well going 110 minutes after they went to penalty kicks. Huff, Beckman, Van Zanten, and Gilchrist are the field players. Suarez, the super sub, with equalizer for Florida State. That's back to North Carolina. Evelyn Shores, number 2 in Carolina Blue, the sophomore from Atlanta, coming on. Had a season-high 35 minutes on Thursday. Has played in 3 straight matches, only 3 of them this year for her. Good defensive work by Simmons forces the North Carolina corner. Simmons. Looking for Beckman. Sember. Oh! Beckman starts it. Looking for Hudson. Riley also making a run, and there's the dependable Huff. Huff gets around the guy. Huff right into the hands. Wow, of Claire Gagne. But that could have been really dangerous.
And that's the position I'm talking about of Huff, because if they do go long and they stretch, that forces the back line of North Carolina. There's the dispossession from Sember, and then immediately they get their head up, and then it's Huff that comes underneath to be able to win the second ball. That's exactly where they want her. Running at the back line, little move to be able to break free. Easy save for Gagne because it's right to her, but right positioning, and that's where they can start to get more of a foothold in this game when they do play long, is winning those second balls with Huff coming underneath.
Our Week 12 ACC Network football lineup beginning Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, number 22 Louisville at Stanford. And we're going to cap the night with the Tar Heels hosting Wake Forest at 8. Both games also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. First ever meeting between Louisville and Stanford on the football field. And Stanford being welcomed into the ACC this season. And in that second match with a win, UNC is bowl eligible. A lot on the line there for all of those programs as we get deeper and deeper into the ACC year. And Monday, selection show here for women's soccer. So it's going to be very interesting. I think that there are going to be multiple ACC teams that are 1 seeds that mean that all the way through the quarterfinals that you will be playing at home, which, as you know, Lori, is really a massive advantage. Florida State with a win, definitely. And you look at them, their RPI number 6. They have some really impressive results throughout the season. But also, North Carolina, I mean, you can't argue with an RPI of number 2. And if they're ACC tournament champions, they have to be a 1 seed. They might be even with a loss, though, honestly. Puerta. Just in front of Van Zanten. Omar got to it first. Nagai. What a ball to Sember. Omar arriving in the box. Instead, she'll play it back. Darlene runs into a couple of Seminoles. Sember! Fossey's got a brace, and North Carolina retakes the lead.
When it all starts with just a loose ball in the middle, and then wonderful play for North Carolina to be patient, to find their moments. It gets popped out. Right decision from Simber just to lay it off. Darlene trying to commit players, but then they're just patient. They're patient, they wait for the run, and just at the last second, Fossey just steps in, poor defending, Huerta knows it. Gets me wrong side of her, but look at that header. Just places it perfectly into that far post. Past Todd, nothing that she can do about it. Love that ball in. But from a Florida State standpoint, they'll be disappointed knowing that they have all of the players back. Just have to stay touch tight, turn off, and you can see the reaction from Huerta. Wonderful header from Fossey, well read from the ball from Simber.
Fourth multi-goal game for Kate Fossey this year.
Fossey with her 16th of the season and second of the day.
16 goals, 2 of them here, both for North Carolina today. What a match we have already had. This has the makings of an instant classic here. I mean, we saw a high-scoring affair down in Tallahassee 4 matches ago as well. It was a 4-2 finish in favor of the Seminoles over the Tar Heels. And we are seeing the exact same thing. That goal, though, made possible by 2-inch perfect passes. The one by Nagai started everything, and then Sember's delivery was spectacular.
Well, you could also say for Fossey's the one that started it too, because the ball's popped loose, and instead of trying to turn and face and go, she just lays it off, and then that allows the ball to be played first time into Simber. That starts the entire play. And it's just the simplicity of it, letting the game come to them, not trying to force it too much, and Fossey with the 2 goals has been the difference. Darlene's right down again. But the patience within all of that. You can see this Carolina team and what Damon Nahas has done, and he's saying immediately, just calm it down. Don't force it right now. Just over a minute to go in this first half. But they've been able to find those moments where they try to speed it up, be a bit more direct, but then also find the moments where they can play out to Darlene, get her running 1v1. So there's a variety of ways they've been able to attack this entire match and find themselves up 2-1 late in this first half.
Shores. Well, this whole first half has been absolutely box office, end-to-end action.
Exactly what we would think in this championship game,
Correct.
Right?
Yep. It was what everyone was hoping for when you saw this match.
And I think what's been interesting, and I love it from both of these teams, is that they're playing to win. You can, a lot of times in playoffs and championships, it can be really cagey. Teams don't want to come out of their defensive posture, but both of these teams set themselves up to be aggressive, to attack with numbers, and North Carolina has certainly taken their chances so far, but saw the response last time from Florida State, so no doubt do we expect them to come out
10
and be on the front foot starting the second half.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
North Carolina leading 2-1 after the first half of play at the ACC Championship Game. Kate Fossey, who is on her way to the most outstanding.
In terms of they have to find those moments of when to be direct and when to be a bit more patient. We did see that from North Carolina. They picked their moments. It's going to have to be the same for Florida State.
All right, 45 minutes on the clock. We got the same scoreline. North Carolina's the champion for the first time since 2019. Looking to be a bit more direct early on, like Coach Penske said, trying to get it to Dudley. Walled off by Trinity Armstrong. 2 U.S. national team caliber players right there, 1v1. Delarose in transition. Thomas. Cuts back. Stays with it past Van Santen. So how does Florida State find an equalizer here in the second half?
Well, I think we saw some of their dangerous moments if they did go direct like this, then to back off, win the second balls. Huff had a few opportunities and one late in that first half that allowed her to get a shot off.
Thomas, she stayed on.
But if it's not on to go direct and it's not on for them to be able to win first and second balls in that area, then just keep possession. Move it from one side to the next, see if they can open up space in the wide areas. That is why they're playing in this 3-5-2, is because you can have a player next to Dudley up top, but then you can create natural space in the wide areas as well. Just need to get them involved a bit more often.
Looking for Suarez, who, interestingly enough, starting the second half. She didn't start the match, but she is out there to begin here the last 45. She has the goal for Florida State.
And actually, Wynn has switched over to that far side. And ZY was helped off the field due to injury in the first part of that first half.
Alvarez. Nagai has shown the ability to create outstanding service for forwards. There's Thomas back to the middle. Gilchrist can't get a handle on it for a moment. Just as far as Darlene. Thomas to the byline. Van Zanten's there, and it trickles out of bounds for a goal kick.
Well, the shape behind the ball for North Carolina. If Florida State's unable to clear it, they have really good numbers behind the ball. Then to pick it back up, we just saw Darlene and Della Rose be two of those players. Good positioning behind for any loose ball once Florida State does try to clear their lines.
You can see at the top of your screen, there is really not a seat available here at Wake Med Soccer Park. Ton of Carolina blue, as you would expect, with Chapel Hill being so close. It's about a 30-minute drive, but Florida State fans always show up. They have built that kind of following. Let's go down to the field. Marion has an update on Ron Ely.
Guys, an unfortunate set of circumstances for Ronnie. Although she was able to walk into the locker room under her own power, she came back in the first half with about 10 minutes to go with that right knee wrapped up in an ice bandage. As soon as she sat down onto the bench, she was greeted by hugs of players and staff not coming back into this match.
Yeah, so unfortunate for EY, a player looking for her 5th ACC tournament title in as many tries, and she might still get it. Playing a vital part of this season, as well as her entire career, and at the beginning of this match at that. But of course, with Suarez starting now in the second half, she's going to be in there for EY and brings a little bit of a different dynamic as well.
And just on that last play, Gattino, and this is why the 3-back has been so important for North Carolina, because they only have Dudley up top. That allows for Gattino to be able to unleash and be more aggressive against Jimenez, who's one of their attacking midfielders. Wins the ball, draws the foul, and this is what you're talking about when you think about managing the game, playing at the tempo that you want to play at.
Into the head of Huff. Washington. In that 3-back, North Carolina has been so stout, and we have not been able to see that athleticism come forward from Florida State, a team that has so much speed too at the top. Soleil Washington as fast as really anybody out on the pitch. We haven't seen them running behind anyone today.
Well, one, they have Trinity Armstrong back, so it allows them to be able to take a few more risks. She can go step for both of those players. And then also, if you get the good timing, great run from Huff.
That was a great ball. Can Huff find it? Looking to push it for Dudley. Now Beckman. One touch to Suarez. Stays with it. Suarez looking for her second. But that one is right into the arms of Gagne.
Well, it's a great run from Taylor Huff because she's trying to find that space in behind to join Dudley. Just the pass can't come off. It doesn't come off, but then it lands to Suarez. She's the one that had the first goal, the tying goal in that first half. Just a little bit of a heavy touch. It gets away from her. Then she's always lunging for it right there, trying to bypass Armstrong, lunging, doesn't get all of it. right into the hands of Gagne, but that's better because you get Huff making those runs out from underneath, but then that's when the space opens up, and if North Carolina doesn't stay connected to that back line, Suarez can pick up those loose balls and start to penetrate at the back line.
See freshmen have a really big impact here at the end of this match. Fosse's on a brace for North Carolina. Venturing back now.
And just to finish that previous point, Alex, that Armstrong, yes, she's a difference maker. As you see her through the midfield right now. But at the same time, it does allow them to draw the foul, never can't believe it, but it has allowed North Carolina then to unleash because they didn't want to go 2 for 2. With the 2 forwards for Florida State, they didn't want to go 2 for 2 against the 2 center backs. So to have the 3 back, it allows them always have some coverage, and for moments like this, so when Armstrong can step into the midfield, she draws the foul. We've seen this all game long for North Carolina, and every time, whether it's Darlene, whether it's Armstrong or Elgin, they've drawn a foul and set up for an opportunity for a set piece, and they've looked really dangerous with the delivery from Dela Rose.
North Carolina looking to open up some breathing room. Dela Rose straight into added time. Didn't make the first-year starter work at all, the sophomore from Littleton, Colorado. Here comes North Carolina once again. That pass intended for Fosse. And now Florida State can break the lines. Washington has Jimenez, the Colombian international, Venezuelan international that is, picked off by Darlene. And now Darlene can fly. Switches. That open space for Alvarez. Fosse. Beckman stays with it for the Seminoles. And now Suarez.
Well, that positioning from Alvarez continues to be an issue for Florida State defensively.
Thomas back to goal into Beckman.
Because Wynn has moved to that left-hand side, but she's been pinned back by Fosse's movement up top. They need to be able to release her to get out to Alvarez early because Alvarez has loads of space just sitting in between that back line and the midfield, right on the outside of the 3 midfielders for Florida State.
We've seen that really the entire match. Starting position a little bit lower, but here come the Seminoles right into the chest of Gattino. And now Soleil Washington pushes down Gattino, and she is incredulous, and she is going to earn a yellow card for dissent.
Well, the frustration setting in because North Carolina started the second half exactly how they started the second half in the semifinals against Duke. Winning first and second, balls stepping up their pressure higher up the field, and it's forcing Washington, it's forcing Dudley to have to track back, do a lot of defending. And that just plays right into the hands of North Carolina because the further away from goal those 2 players are, the better it is in terms of limiting any sort of dangerous opportunities. Want to wear them out by having to defend.
Armstrong now over. So Van Zanten got there first. Elgin to top. Today's women's college basketball lineup, 3 Eastern, Gonzaga, Stanford at Maples Pavilion. That's on ESPN2 and on ESPN number 9, NC State, South Carolina, top-ranked Gamecocks and defending national champions at 3, and then Virginia Tech, Iowa, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN2. All 3 games available on the ESPN app. Virginia Tech, Iowa, matchup of 2 brand new head coaches, not just one, not just Iowa, of course, Lisa Bluter retiring, also Kenny Brooks leaving to go to Kentucky for Virginia Tech. Gonna be a good early look at him. A little more than 10 minutes gone here in the second half. No goals yet in the final 45, though they've certainly seen opportunities. North Carolina's been out on the front foot, but we have seen a response from Brian Penske's team after he wanted them to be a little more violent with their runs and their play. Brian Penske, only active coach to be named ACC, SEC, and National Coach of the Year before Florida State. Made 7 NCAA tournament appearances with Tennessee, building the Vols into a perennial contender, certainly for an SEC crown, and went to NCAA tournament more often than not. But it's a different level here with Florida State, right? The expectations are different. You've got the profile of being in the ACC. You've won 4 NCAA tournament championships since 2014. 4 in the last 9 years. 14 College Cup appearances. I mean, you can go all the way down. These are 2 programs that everyone's going to be looking at for years to come.
Well, it's quite incredible, and even Florida State, just the way that they've gone about their business too, in terms of the style of play, possession-oriented, keeping the ball, building with numbers, and just also relentless in the attack.
Darlene.
Yeah, good defending.
Suarez just poked it away. And now Huff can go to work.
Well, somebody's got to come back to the ball, and that's what Huff is saying. Somebody has to come back to the ball.
Yep. Jimenez, not over yet. Jimenez runs right into De La Rose and draws the foul for Florida State.
Because one, it's making it easy for North Carolina just to stay with those runners, because Washington, Dudley both making the same run. But then also, she just needs a little bit of help. If Huff's the one that's the ball carrier, somebody's got to check to it. She can bounce it off of him, get it back. There's Jimenez is following up on that last play. It's brought down.
When a team's having trouble in the run of play, you can always look to set pieces. And is it right here? Equalizer for Florida State. Suarez sends it into the box, right into Gattino. Back into the mixer, Beckman. Wynn chasing it down with Fossey. Wynn keeps it in, but just as far as Gattino. Olmark. Washington. Dudley turns. Gets around Elgin. Dudley to the middle, and De La Rose cleans it up.
Well, that's exactly what Dudley wants to be doing. Trying to round the corners, get a little bit of a step on her defender. Then she's trying to connect, but De La Rose, we've seen a few different times in important moments, staying connected, making sure that she's in the position to clean anything up, but it doesn't find an easy ball in to Washington or Jimenez that was coming in right behind her.
Jimenez pokes it to Beckman. Suarez to the byline, Dudley, and it's going to be a corner. Florida State's second of the match now coming up.
There's De La Rose again, and there's that trailing leg.
Taking the corner kick from Florida State, number 9.
Sees it over the end line for the corner kick, and an ample opportunity now for Florida State, because as you mentioned, Alex, set pieces be the difference.
Huff headed back, head out and bound over the end line. And that's an area usually where Ron Ewai would be taking that. Anson Dorrance staying after being honored at halftime as he watches on. Though on campus at Dorrance Stadium, he is still an absolute fixture and someone that's in touch with Damon Nahas. And how could you not be? I mean, coaching under him for 8 seasons and really building the program along with him recently. Team that won the ACC tournament back in 2019, though it's been all Florida State ever since.
He's such a legend of the game, and even Damon Nahas will say, sing his praises, what he means to him and the program. And that's very clear. But also vice versa with Anthony Dorrance and how he feels about Damon Nahas and allowing him to have a lot of the reins, a lot of the coaching over the recent years, and that runs through and through to this team in terms of how important Damon Nahas is to these players and why they want him to stay on board so badly.
And how interesting would it be, too, with the two biggest rival schools in Duke, Robbie Church retiring after this year, but Kieran, the associate head coach, taking over, and longtime assistant Damon Nahas, now the interim head coach. But if he got the head job, it would be both schools going internally to replace legends in a lot of ways. Florida State free kick now upcoming. And Fossey called for the whistle.
Well, Gilchrist doing exactly what North Carolina has done to Florida State. She sees a little bit of space, drives into it, forces the foul because they know they don't want to get beat, because if you beat that first line of pressure, then that's when things start to open up. Player starts to step out defensively, then you can either slip balls in, combine. It's better just to draw the foul.
This is Gilchrist for Washington, bounds around. Darlene, Puerta now, back flip over to Washington, stay with Florida State.
And I think there's opportunities right now as we're gonna see Puerta enter onto the field now as a substitute for Florida State, but I think there's opportunities for Florida State to find moments just to put that ball down instead of floating it in and creating a hopeful opportunity. Get the ball down, move it quickly, because this game has been played, the second half specifically.
Puerta taken down in the box, and Florida State's going to have a penalty.
And I was just about to say, create the tempo that they want to play. You can see the angst on De La Rose. She knows that she's brought down Puerta. Puerta just coming on for such as of entering this field. There it is right there, Puerta. And we mentioned her being more attacking minded, how she's different. Del Rose immediately to her knees.
Huff has not attempted a penalty kick this year. Looking for the equalizer for the four-time defending champions. And we're level. Gagne guessed right. It was just too good from Taylor Huff. 12 goals on the season for Florida State star.
Donating another 1,000 meals to local North Carolina food banks.
On a much needed goal from Florida State, because as I was mentioning, it's felt like North Carolina has had control, playing the tempo they want to. It's a quick ball in, then they get combination, and De La Rose is just late to the challenge. Puerta just coming onto the field, and then Taylor Huff steps up, is calm, just tucks it into the far post. Doesn't get much better than that in terms of penalty kick.
And immediately, Lori, the first possession that Florida State has since Puerta comes on, she makes an impact.
Yeah, and it forces the late challenge from De La Rose inside the box. She knew it immediately with the reaction, but well done for Florida State to continue to find moments.
Puerta's played multiple levels of the U.S. national team youth system. Only 17 years old. She had to reclassify to join the team this year. And what a shock it must have been to her system, because she was homeschooled and coming into a massive university at Florida State in Tallahassee.
Well, Brian Pinsky did talk about how they have 4 different wing backs available to them. EY Wynn, who've been starting these games. EY, the one that went down with injury, so now down to 3. But Puerta, Suarez, 2 that typically come off the bench, and add a little bit more in the way of attack. Right timing for Brian Pinsky, not only to draw the foul, but also just to bring somebody on that's going to create a little bit of a higher tempo, help into the attack.
Well, and he told us he wanted to see more from his wingbacks. He thought that that was a real key to unlocking the back 3 now of North Carolina. And do you think that he has gotten that?
I think we're starting to see it more. Puerta's actually playing in more of an attacking midfield role, but she can play out wide as well. Suarez on this near side. But yes, I mean, you want to get players on that are willing to take risks, that are not afraid to go 1v1, find those moments, and can't just sit back when you're trailing. So to Puerta to come on and take that moment, at least put herself in that position. Really well done from the young player.
This feels very much like a cup match with two heavyweights landing blows every step of the way. And I have a feeling we're not quite done yet. Huff. Pass was deflected. Dudley does track it down, and some numbers moving forward to join her. Dudley has some space in the box. Dudley floats it in. It took a deflection, and that's off of Armstrong for a Florida State corner. The third of the match for the Seminoles, and it is Puerta.
Number 30, Puerta.
She just drew the penalty that Huff put in to level us up at 2. Hudson. Beckman off the volley.
Much better though from Florida State. Have shifted the momentum once again in terms of getting the tying goal. Now they've been able to attack more, pin North Carolina back quite considerably, and really haven't been able to generate much in the way of the attack last 10 minutes or so. So now here comes the shift again. Can North Carolina start to possess, get Darlene on this left-hand side, run at the back line. Simbers come in. She played off of Fossey really well to allow for that go-ahead goal late in the first half to develop.
This is for it all. The ACC Tournament Championship is on the line here in Cary, North Carolina. Bella Sember now, the senior, whipped into the box. That's dealt with by Wynn. Catino. Miscommunication there with Nagai. Puerta. Now Huff has to move back in the other direction. Huff. Firing it in, looking for Dudley. Dudley. Hudson! Back-to-back goals for Florida State, and the Noles are on top here in the second half.
Oh, just watch Huff's movement, because we've talked all season long, regardless of who's been available for Florida State, how important she is on both sides of the ball, controlling the midfield. She's always floating out wide to buy herself a little bit more time. Here she is just looking. I thought she was just going to try to keep possession initially to swing this ball around, but you see the movement right there of Dudley. She looks to play it in. That pushes North Carolina back. Then you get the little combination between Dudley, Hudson. Hudson doesn't even have to make great contact because she gets enough on it, just stays out of it initially, and it's enough to get it past Gagne for the go-ahead goal here in the second half. But what a little combination. Great hold-up play from Dudley, and then Hudson doesn't get too close to her, just stays out of it initially, and then she's able to come on it. Gagne's going one way, has to try to redirect her feet to come back across, but can't get enough on it, and it parries it into the side netting. 2 unanswered goals just like that in quick succession for Florida State.
Well, I think we're also seeing why Dudley is so dangerous as an all-around player, because that's her second assist here in the semis and the championship, and she created that goal certainly against Wake Forest with Huff finishing.
Yeah, and great point, because typically we're used to seeing Dudley looking to see if she can peel out wide as well, looking to get in behind, but North Carolina has limited that from her. But just there, great work from Hudson to track back just to get a toe on that to dispossess North Carolina. But just there. All she needs to do is hold up the play, draw 2 defenders, hold it up, and then not do too much. Simplifies it, plays it to Hudson, and she does the rest. And sometimes that's what you have to do, to recognize, okay, I'm not having a ton of success to get in behind. I'm not driving at the back line. What can I do to impact this game? And she just holds the defenders off. That allows the time and space underneath for Hudson to come onto that ball.
And look how impactful these young players are for Florida State. And the biggest reason that this is not a team that seems like it's ever going to rebuild, even though you lose such incredible names last year like Jody Brown, Beata Olson, Oni Echegini. I mean, these are prime players. You're talking about the Mac Herman Trophy winner as well in Echegini. And they're able to bring in this
mentality,
type of talent.
yes, yep, exactly.
But it is about the mentality,
It is,
too.
yeah, it's a standard that we keep talking about, is you understand. And even Penske was very clear on that early in the season when they essentially had 13 players available. Standard doesn't change. It is what it is at this university, and they knew they had to continue to find results. That's one of the reasons why they shifted the formation. 2 losses. Players were disappointed, coaching staff was disappointed, and you have to make adjustments. And they've done that, and then to be able to come back twice in this game from being down a goal, and then now to take the lead, excellent in terms of just staying composed, but also picking your moments and how you're going to put this North Carolina team under pressure.
Sember, still Sember. That was dipping and diving.
Yep.
And Addie Todd finally took it down.
You could see the swerve and that dip on that
Oh,
ball.
yeah.
My TST teammate during the summer, Bella Sember, Tessa Della Rose. It led our team essentially, and I've seen a number of those shots from close distance. Thank goodness it wasn't on me, it was on the opposition.
You had a good time playing in that, didn't you?
Yeah, we won.
That's always going to make it better. Dudley. And she is going to draw the foul there before, looked like maybe Hudson might have been offside, but no, it is going to be a foul. Well, actually, let's stick here with Suarez feeding back in the middle of the box as that is poked away. And Olmark now on her horse. Van Zanten is going to touch it out of bounds. For more on Wrianna Hudson, Marion, what do you got?
Hey, Alex. Just wanted to add real quick on why Hudson is in the game maybe a little bit earlier than we normally see from her. They really wanted to identify the size matchup versus Armstrong. It was a two-way sub. They knew that chances in the run of play have been a bit limited, so they knew that it might come down to set pieces, and what better way to have an advantage on set pieces than a 6'2" striker
Yes.
in your box. But they also wanted to do a better job of occupying the 2 center backs. Felt like there were too many runs that were being made by the same 2 players. Put her involved just to occupy the center backs a bit more and free up Dudley, whether she wanted to run into space or check down underneath as well.
Well, you could see that size already having a massive impact as Huff sends it back in, and that nearly could have been 4.
An excellent ball from Huff.
Win looking for Huff.
That was excellent
That's gonna
ball.
go wide.
Excellent ball from Huff on that near side, looking for Dudley. We are going to see the substitution for
Entering the
Florida
match for
State.
Florida State, number 15, Peyton McGovern.
McGovern going to check in for Puerta. Freshman for freshman there.
Here's that opportunity, and look at the ball. It allows for Huff to be able to play it first time. You have to play it, otherwise North Carolina's backs will be able to drop, make the play on it. Instead, it's just whipped in behind. Not so sure Dudley thought that was going to make its way all the way through.
Gagne did get a fingertip on it, and that was the decisive touch. Armstrong all the way up to win the header. Coming up this afternoon, 3 Eastern on ABC, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN+. It's the last NWSL quarterfinal matchup. Gotham and Portland. Looking forward to that one at Red Bull Arena. Semifinals are Saturday. Rematch of last year's semis. Gotham was able to take down Portland on the road. always fun when a year later you get those playoff rematches. Simmons. Huff, heavy touch on the first ball. And so now just a shade over 17 minutes left for North Carolina. This is a matchup that we seem to have every other year.
I mean, you're not wrong.
This is kind of like the Giants winning the World Series in the every other year in the early 2010s. Dudley gets past Armstrong. Dudley poked to Hudson, who has that decisive goal at the moment. That was the exact exchange we saw. Shores.
And this is where North Carolina's lost their way just a little bit because they're not able to find the width to be able to just bypass that first line. Instead, they have to play back, and then they play the ball out of bounds because they don't have the angle to find Darlene. Either redirect your run and come back to get that ball to feet, or you're just going to have to be a little bit patient. But the pressure from Florida State has been excellent since getting that tying goal and then the go-ahead goal is because they're stepping up their pressure. It's forcing North Carolina to have to play a bit quicker than they like to. If those angles don't present themselves before, then it creates a turnover.
Well, we certainly know that North Carolina is able to come back from a deficit. They were down 1-0 against Duke, a place that they found themselves now for the third straight halftime. And then Olmark with the equalizer on Thursday night, and finally the winner with Trinity Armstrong putting a header off the corner from the guy in the back of the net in the 81st minute. So you know that this is not a team that is about to lay down. They are going to fight for the entire rest of this 15:39. But can Florida State put it out of reach? Because right now they have had much better chances in this second half, certainly the latter portion of the second half, than North Carolina.
We'll also point to Hudson, because we heard Marion talk about the reason why they brought her in earlier than they typically do partway through the halves. And she's just playing back to goal, laying balls off. That's allowing other players to join into the attack and creating some of the overloads and forcing North Carolina to have to really track back, defend deeper.
Florida State has so many different types of players as well that they can bring in to fit a lot of different other team styles. McGovern, Huff, and she decides to go backward there to Simmons, her former Tennessee teammate. Simmons. Elgin. North Carolina chases numbers forward. Dudley takes it away from Shores. Dudley looking for help in the box, and Armstrong arrived just in time. She lets North Carolina take a lot of chances because of what she is able to clean up. This massive crowd, most of them wearing Carolina blue, searching for the equalizer. But there are some Seminoles fans, certainly a big pocket that has been quite vocal throughout this match. Going to be a last touch by Olmark, and North Carolina will go quick here to Dudley. Finds a pair of defenders from North Carolina. You're starting to get around the time where Florida State is okay just taking all these throw-ins.
Entering the match for North Carolina,
Hudson is going to check out, and Riley hands off the penny. Also, Nagai and Alvarez coming out. Dudley. Elgin pokes it off of the Florida State forward. See Thomas and Delarose, the ones checking in now for North Carolina. Trying to bring that firepower back out onto the pitch as they search for an equalizer. Van Zanten had to get there and did. Delarose right into the feet of Thomas, couldn't control, and Wynn got there first. Tar Heel supporters trying to urge on North Carolina to push for that equalizer here with 12.5 minutes remaining in the ACC Tournament Championship match. So glad you could make us a part of your Sunday afternoon. Alex Perlman, Lori Lindsay, Marion Crowder with you as we crown the title holder in really the most difficult conference to win a postseason championship. Sember, Shores, back to the middle, Ulmark. Darlene works around Suarez, still Darlene. Delarose to Sember. Sizing up McGovern. And now Ulmark. Darlene finds a pocket. Darlene stays with it, and she's tripped up outside the box. But a free kick now for the Heels.
So it was a close call right before this because Suarez went to ground inside the 18-yard box. Almost got Darlene again, but this time she gets faced up. You like the aggression from Gilchrist, but then just a late challenge from Simmons once again, and that's been an interesting matchup all game. The second half, they haven't been able to find Darlene nearly as much as they did in the first, but showing why she's been so dangerous. It's a great opportunity for Sember.
Is this the moment for UNC? The senior Sember, the only one over it. Sember! Todd had it covered the entire way.
Now, plenty of time left to go for North Carolina. So Florida State is going to have to hold strong. They're going to have to find their moments still to attack, be direct, see if they can push North Carolina back defensively. But if I'm North Carolina, I'm looking for Darlene. I'm running at those back three, trying to get myself in the 18-yard box. Because every single time she's drawn a foul, whether it's a penalty kick at the beginning of this game or dangerous free kicks right outside the box.
Dudley hunting for a fourth. Played it in, Gagne off her line. And Lori wants UNC to go.
Well, they need to go. They need to recognize that they have Thomas. She can pin them back as well with some of her runs. Then Sember, Darlene, they have to be able to find the space underneath her.
And Gilchrist will just send it out for a UNC throw. Huff. This is where Florida State can really hurt you, because she can just break lines herself and then pass it off to Dudley. Still Dudley! And Gagne got a hand on it. Going to be a corner now for Florida State. Inside 9.5 minutes left.
Well, you need big players to step up in these big matches, and Huff's done that for Florida State. Here she is driving. Love it. She takes on three players, waits for that run from Dudley, and then creates a 1v1 situation. Dudley riding that challenge. And then Gagne coming off her line to narrow the opportunity even more. But look at this little roll, tuck and roll from Armstrong, gets herself back up. Well done from Dudley as well.
Got style points right there and also stopped the goal scoring threat. Clock stopped with 9 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. Here is Taylor Suarez to take it for the Seminoles. Gilchrist had a free header, went over her. Beckman back into the middle. There's Armstrong. Fossey sends it out of danger. Van Zanten to McGovern. Florida State run some clock here if they want to. Suarez will catch up to it before it goes out of bounds on the touchline, and the Florida State throw. Stayed in. It did not. Going to be a goal kick now here for North Carolina as it just trickles over the end line. Well, coming up next, we have another conference championship, the AAC title match. It's the number 3 seed East Carolina and top seeded Memphis. That's on ESPN News right now in the ESPN app. We will get you there when we are finished. Olmark looking for help. Olmark herself. She had the equalizer against Duke early on in the second half on Thursday, and very nearly did the same thing late against Florida State.
You can see she's taking a peek over her shoulder right there to see who's coming with her. Doesn't have help, so she has one thing on her mind: to beat the first player, look to see if she can bend it into the second or the far post. Right there, it's a good opportunity.
Clock ticking down, now just 7 minutes remaining as Florida State searches for its 5th straight ACC tournament title. Damon Neos in his first year as the UNC interim head coach. Looking on, hoping there's some magic left in his team's boots. No 4 seed has ever won an ACC title, and that, of course, is what the Tar Heels are trying to do. Normally you get the bye and you set yourself up for a really strong finish here to this tournament. It hasn't gone that way this year. Numbers 1 and 2 both eliminated on Thursday night in the semis. Gattino dances forward, pushed out wide for De La Rose, wins there. Who got there first? De La Rose did. And now clock's gonna stop.
Entering the match for Florida State, number 28, Soleil Washington.
It looked like it had gone off wind.
It did.
Maybe get a bit fortunate there, and you can see De La Rose saying, "No, it could win in the end."
North Carolina still has a little bit of time left, but you get any further along, Lori, and it starts to become desperation, and the chances of getting an equalizer lower and lower, because remember, there is no stoppage time. Once we hit triple zeros in college soccer, the match is over. Let's go down to Marion quickly.
Just noticing here, guys, how quickly and how deeply the Florida State back line is dropping. You have to think that if something is going to come for UNC, it's going to be picking up the second balls right underneath them.
And Gattino is going to be called for the foul. And now Florida State can take some more time.
On to Marion's point with Thomas on the field and North Carolina having to be a bit more direct to try to get the tying goal. That is exactly where some of the chances are going to come. They just have to make sure that they stay connected. So Olmark, Simber at times, they've got to, as soon as they see that ball being floated into Thomas's path, they've got to join in to the attack with her.
Win. Take it to the corner. Olmark there. De La Rose arrives. Olmark comes away with it. Huff now. Really smart Seminoles attack right now. Knowing they don't have to do too much. And just finding ways to push the ball out of bounds. Wind some time down, draw fouls. Really excellent gamesmanship at the moment. .421 remaining here for North Carolina. Both teams are going to make the NCAA tournament. They might both even be 1 seeds and guarantee themselves home games all the way to the quarterfinals before College Cup. But this is a trophy match. This is one that you work for all season long.
And the last 4 minutes can be a long period of time. We've seen games being flipped on their head in this amount of time, but the way that Florida State's going about their business right now in terms of just slowing things down deep in their own attacking half, allowing the clock to tick as much as possible, it's been excellent. And just the mentality to not rush too much, come out in the second half, apply a bit more pressure, find the moments when they could take their chances, and that's what it's all about. They've taken the chances they've gotten to a quick succession and put themselves in the lead and potentially see this game out and win their 5th in a row in terms of an ACC championship.
Today's women's college basketball lineup, 3 Eastern, it's Gonzaga, Stanford, ESPN 2, then on ESPN same time, NC State, South Carolina in that top 10 battle, and then on ESPN 2, 5:30 Eastern, Virginia Tech and Iowa. All 3 matches available on the ESPN app, as well as we tick under 3 minutes remaining. Florida State's in absolutely no hurry as it stands. It is the 67th minute goal by Hudson, the game winner. Dudley, who had the assist on that Hudson goal. Got to play keep away, and now North Carolina sends it forward for another Florida State throw-in. Florida State fans can start to sense it. This is the expectation, not only playing in the championship match, but coming away on top. North Carolina has not won the ACC tournament since 2019, though they've by far done it the most in history, 22 times in the 36 played. Gilchrist is finally, North Carolina gets it out of its own half. Damon Naos wants a foul called, and we are going to get a stoppage and a yellow card. That's going to go on North Carolina with 1 minute and 52 seconds left. Kate Fossey picking up the yellow. We'll check that Delarose. Looked like it should be Fossey though. Free kick now for Florida State. Fossey. Sember. Try to get Darlene to track it down. Man, if she just switched on the ground there, something might have been on for the Heels.
It's just about connecting your passes, but you understand the emotions. You're trying to help your team win this game. We'll look for the most dangerous pass. This gets away, but they're able to collect it back, and here come the Tar Heels once again.
Is this the last gasp for a proud program looking to get back to the top of the ACC ladder? Elgin. Cut out by McGovern, and she'll just send it deep.
1 minute remaining in the
Gagne
second
out to
half.
meet it, less than 60 seconds to go. Now it's desperation time for the Heels. Ullmark draws the crowd, stays in, and now here's Dudley. She is very happy to do just that. Can Sember push it now for North Carolina? Gattino, a half a minute remaining. Dudley, forward to Sember. Gattino draws the foul, and time's gonna stop right at midfield. Gagne comes forward. All 11. Once this ball is kicked by Gattino in the Florida State half. What a finish. It carried North Carolina, 23 seconds left. UNC chasing the equalizer. And it was looking for Gagne as she goes down in the box. Goal kick, Florida State.
10, 9, 8, 7,
Brian Penske and his
6,
staff
5,
celebrate.
4, 3, 2,
It's a
1,
half-decade
0.
of dominance for Florida State. The Seminoles have won their 5th straight ACC Tournament Championship.